So, you have decided to play Amara, or are at least interested in playing Amara. Well, don't worry, we have Jordan, our Amara expert here in the GameSpot office. Jordan, we're going to break down how Amara works, how her skill trees work, and what are some best tips for Amara players when playing through Borderlands 3. Let's start with her skill trees. What are each of her trees about?
Okay, so Amara's 3 skill trees are Fist of the Elements, Brawl, and Mystical Assault. All of them are essentially just different variations of getting Amara to the middle of the fight as quickly as possible, because she does a lot of damage at real close range. So, for example, the Fist of the Elements skill tree is about stopping the largest threat so that you can deal with all the smaller threats very quickly and then focus on the big guy last, whereas Brawl is about just jumping immediately into the fight, and Mystical Assault is kind of to try to scatter enemies to knock them back on their feet, and then you can try to pick them off as they're trying to recover.
Okay, so what was the tree you went with? What do you find the most useful for you, at least?
So I think that Brawl is probably Amara's best skill tree, although I was playing by myself for most of my time with Borderlands 3, and Brawl is kind of her self-sustaining skill tree. It's the one where she has the Guardian Angel skill that allows her to just self-revive every 2 minutes. So that's like the skill tree you want to go into if you're playing by yourself, and you're like, I just need some defensive abilities to make sure that I can actually survive on my own. But I also really enjoyed investing in a few points into her Fist of the Elements skill tree, which I think is probably the one that you actually want to start with, especially if this is your first Borderlands game, or if you're just kind of just getting into first-person shooters and you just need a little bit of assistance.
What are those specific abilities you found useful?
I would say in Fist of the Elements, in her very first tier, she has a skill called Steady Hands, which increases her weapon handling and accuracy. So it just makes it easier to actually hit your target, and just being able to use her phase grasp ability to lock down one person in place just helps getting those shots off. So Borderlands 3 is pretty hectic, lots of people running around. This is like the skill tree to kind of help you stop all of that and try to get an easier shot off to try to do as much damage as possible. It's also the tree that if you invest 5 points into, it unlocks her second tier, which unlocks her perk, which allows her to change her active skill from doing shock damage to fire damage, incendiary damage. And since you mostly encounter bandits in the beginning of Borderlands 3, being able to do a lot of fire damage quickly and effectively is probably the most useful skill
So you think maybe invest in that early on to get that perk, and then maybe switch over to a different tree?
Yeah, exactly. And you have a few other second tier skills in there that you could probably invest in. Tempest increases her elemental damage, and Illuminated Fist increases her melee damage and allows her melee skill to just incorporate whatever her active skill element is. So if you switch it over to fire, then all of her melee attacks do fire damage, which is just very helpful in the beginning of the game.
And then the last tree, it seems like you didn't really care for that one as much.
Yeah, so Mystical Assault, the special action skill associated to this one is called Phase Cast. And Phase Cast is when she shoots out a projection of herself, which looks really cool and does a lot of elemental damage. But most of the skills in this tree are designed to increase the effectiveness of Amara's action skills. Either she can use it more often, or it's just stronger. And these are all very good things, but Amara is already a very powerful character. Her action skills are stupidly powerful. I was able to, by the end of the game, just one-shot attacks with her melee attacks. I almost didn't even actually have to use the guns in my arsenal. So using her action skill just kind of made her almost too overpowered. But I can see how if you're playing with multiple people and the enemies are kind of stacked and becoming stronger, this might be the skill tree to invest in points in about halfway through the campaign when enemies are a lot stronger, and you might just need that little bit of boost in power and effectiveness.
Okay, so what about weapons? What are Amara's choice weapon types, maybe brands that you found useful for her?
So Amara has a few skills, like I said before, that increase her melee damage. She also has a few that just make her stronger the closer she is to a person. So close range weapons are her bread and butter. Close range pistols, shotguns, assault rifles that don't have really long range scopes. These are the things you want to invest in. I started with sniper rifles for a while because I like sniper rifles in Borderlands games, but it was definitely clear about 5 hours in that Amara's just not a sniper character. So it's kind of, you're the person who likes to go long range, you're probably better off picking one of the other three as opposed to Amara.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan. That is some pretty good advice for Amara players. Sounds like it's very much about shotguns, getting in close, doing as much damage as possible.
Yup.
And if you are interested in seeing how any of the other characters play, we have more guides for all 4 Borderlands Vault Hunters on the way. You can also check out our Which Vault Hunter is Right For You video, which gives you a brief overview of each character. Thanks for watching.